What's going on? Danny Crew, it's DandyDrew here, and we are back not only for another day of Catan, but it's going to be a completely new series, and it's all about placements. I don't know if we can call it place it out, board reviews, whatever it is. But what we're going to be doing today is going through a board, and I'm going to be breaking down each position and essentially try to optimally place the entire board out. And what's cool is we're going to be using the 2Sheet platform, which I will have a link below, and you can follow along. So if you want to pause the video when we start doing placements, what I would do is click on the trainer link, and it will bring up this exact board. And what you can do is you can place the entire board out before we even start. And then you can compare, like, how did I place it out versus how did Drew place it out? So that's pretty cool. The link's down below. Also, we do have, let me just go here, the Settlers Intensive 2. This was a program that I started, about 6 weeks ago. Just finished the first one. It was awesome. We had a ton of great coaches, students from all around the world. And what we're doing is we're teaching the absolute fundamentals of Catan. But I promise you, I don't care how good you are, you will show up and you will learn something. And this particular one, we also have Delighted, who is going to be joining us as one of the instructors. So if you are interested, I recommend that you read the form, which is in the description. And if you want, fill it out. I will reach out to you. I know there was a lot of people who showed interest from the first one that just couldn't make it with the holidays. So this is another shot. I'm only going to take a few students, and already we filled a certain percentage of this just because of the wait list on the last one. So if you are interested, please fill out the information. I will shoot you an email or a Discord message, and we'll go from there. So Settlers Intensive, super excited. And then let's get back into the video. Okay, so again, you can follow the trainer link, but let's go through this board. First thing, I'll just want to point this out. There's a lot of players I notice when they look at boards, they look at spots. That's the first thing they look at, right? So they'll say, oh, 8, 4, 11, 5, 9, 10, 8, 5, 3, all these look good. That's not really the way you want to look at a board, at least to start. What you want to do is you want to get a sense of each individual resource and just kind of get a sense, is it in supply? And also, is it accessible? So as an example, let's look at the ore. There's an 8, 4, and a 3. In my mind, that's like medium-ish amount of ore. But one of the things is that because it's kind of clumped with, let's say, the 8, 4, 11 being kind of the main source of ore and only in one spot, realistically, only maybe 3 players at most are going to get good ore. And you could also see maybe if I take 8, 4, 11, 8, 10 might go, and now that person gets 8 ore. So medium ore, but not so accessible. We do have the 9, the 5, the 4, and the 2, on the wheat. So decent amount of wheat. I think everyone's going to get a little something there, most likely. Wood is pretty good. I'm a poet, apparently. Obviously, the 12 being pretty weak, but I think given the 10, the 9, and the 6, that's plenty of wood to work on this board and lots of trades. Then the brick. With brick only having 3 tiles, that's always an interesting note, comparing the wood and the brick. But it kind of looks to me only 2 players are going to get decent brick. So whoever takes the 8 brick and the 5 brick. And with all this excess wood, it feels like early on the brick's going to be relatively valuable. That's good to note. And then there's the sheep with, okay, you've got kind of like a nice spread of sheep, so everyone's going to have a little bit of sheep, but clearly one player is going to have the most sheep with the 6, 4, 3 here. And then the 10's good, probably good enough considering that there's not going to be too much ore. So sheep is kind of middle of the road, and I think everyone's going to have some, so that's very interesting. So then I have kind of a sense of the board, I have a kind of sense of the resources. Now I want to look at some key spots. And the way I would do this is I would start from production and then also have the angle of flexibility. And flexibility to me is usually, especially in first, is like, can I get unique resources? Can I get unique and valuable resources? And there's one spot that really stands out to me here. Again, pause the video if you want to do the trainer all the way through and then come back. And that's the 8, 5, 10. So I'm going to pick the spot for first, Shazam. And the reason is that I have a lot of outs with this. And generally speaking, for first, I like to be able to keep myself relatively flexible. If I can get 3 unique resources, great. If I can get a rare resource, awesome. If I can find a way to get maybe all 5 resources on the way back, even better. And one thing I see with first here is that, let's say someone takes the 8-4-11, which I think they will, then I could certainly see a case that 8-10 is available as an option. Also, I can even see a case that maybe 6-3-12 is available if I'd want to play maybe more of a production/road game. And then, of course, the 3-1 ports work really nicely. I do get a little bit of the sheep. 8-5-10 just speaks to me. I think it's a great pick. So now let's move on to second. So second has an interesting decision here. Do they want to go for kind of the flexibility of something like the 6-9-10, which is very good, or do they want to try to pick up maybe the rare or and try to play that kind of game? They could also play the 6-4-3, and 5-10's not bad. Oh, let's see here. I think it's between two key spots. I think production-wise, the 8-4-11, the 9-5-10 really work well. Obviously, the 9-5-10 is probably a little bit more flexible in terms of diversity, but the 8-4-11 is the rare resources, and that's kind of speaking to me a bit. So I think on this basis, what I will do is I will do the 8-4-3 here. Or sorry, 8-4-11, not 8-4-3, doesn't exist. And I think the Aura actually has some decent play on this board, for sure. Again, these are going to be my interpretations. This is how I'd probably play it if I'm in second. Otherwise, 6-9-10 certainly could work. Just depends on what you get on the way back. All right. Now, third is interesting here because there's a lot of good spots. Obviously, the 6-9-10 works well, but there's an interesting feature here, which is that if you look, there's a lot of spots that pair 5-9-10 that pair with this. And what I'm thinking is if we take the 5-9-10, what does 4 take? And this is like a very common exercise, which is that you want to see in third how likely can you calculate 4 setup, because then you should be able to calculate your setup with ease. So if we take the 5-9-10, I'm almost certain the 6-9-10 is going to go. And then the question is, what pairs with the 6-9-10 best? Well, I kind of like the 6-9-10 4-3-11 personally. I think it's all the resources. You can point towards a brick port to potentially get a road network. You do have the rare ore here, and that actually leaves a lot of options for third. And, you know, picking up the rare brick, potentially getting access to the 8-10, I really like what this offers here. And I do think in this situation, 6-9-10, point left, 4-3-11, starting with the ore and the break makes a lot of sense. And also pointing left gives this player a very interesting decision of maybe getting over here and having the road network. Now the question is, what do we take here in third? I really like the fact that the 5-4-3 down does give you access to the wood port, which plays very nicely, but also gives you access to the wheat port and doubling the ore. You can get onto the 6. Super nice, super nice. Down, boom. Okay. I think here, Mr. Orwheat Sheep's probably taking either the... Nah, they're going to take the 6-4-2 for sure. So essentially, Blue's going to complete their Orwheat Sheep game. I think they can point down and feel pretty good about themselves. Now, the big question here, coming back to first, is what does first decide to do? Do they leave the top of the board for this player here? Or do they take the 8-10? It's kind of a tough call. I think there's two ways you can look at this. If you take the 8-10, you're probably kind of going into more of a development card game, for sure. And then what you can do is, if you're going to be focusing on development cards, you can be trading off your brick to whoever's fighting road to try to balance the game out. That's one way for red. The other way is you can take the 6-12-3, point down, and just kind of go towards the center of the board, pick up all this extra production, and, you know, pray that somebody else finds a road game or a development card game. For instance, white here, after they get 6-3, you could certainly see them playing development cards, but it's a very strong setup. So maybe you don't want to do that. It's tough. It's a 50-50 for me. I think on the basis that you have the top up here going to be playing road. I'm assuming white's going to be playing road. I'd probably take the 8-10. And then who knows, if you pull a road builder, 6-5 is absolutely incredible. Also, one thing you could have done as well is on this settlement, you could point left as well and get to the 6-5 yourself. So let's do that. And maybe if we actually did the calculations a little bit clear, like I said, maybe we'd have pointed left from this side and get to the 6-5. And in that case, I would really love this setup. 8-5-10, 6-5, 5-10-8. So there you go. Place the board out. How well did you do? Did you get close? Did you see maybe some of the nuances? And again, keep in mind, a lot of things can shift here. Okay, this is not exactly how it's going to go. Everyone knows this. It's not a perfect science, but I think this is a reliable calculation. I think everyone's got a great game here, and yeah, I mean, Red's going to be playing probably this, get a city up as quick as they can, buy some development cards, kind of figure out their position. Looks like White and Pink are going to be playing primarily a production road game, and then Pink's going to be taking advantage of the open space. And then clearly Blue's a development card player, which has a pretty decent or wheat sheep, especially starting with the wheat's pretty nice here. And the double wheat, double ore, double sheep. Might have some flexibility challenges, but does have the really valuable ore here. So there you go. Episode number 1, place it out. Let me know what you think. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be many variations, many points of view on this, but I think this will be a fun exercise for anyone. Again, the links are in the description below, and really appreciate you coming out. Again, Settlers Intensive 2 is available. I would love you to join. I'd love you to be a part of that. Please fill out the form, and I will get back to you shortly. There you go. Place it out. Episode number 1. Thanks so much. You go out there and crush it. Kill your placements. Win some games. Dandy's out. Peace.